The Harrison family living room crackled with tension as my father slammed the transfer documents onto the coffee table. "Sign it over to Michael or you're cut off completely. No more trust fund, no more family support." I smoothed down my simple gray sweater, a custom-made cashmere piece that cost more than Michael's flashy suits, and maintained my composure. If only they knew that while they plotted to steal my tech startup, I had already secured its most valuable assets under an ironclad patent trust. "This company is wasting your time, Olivia," my mother added, her voice dripping with manufactured concern. "Your brother understands business. He can make it profitable." Michael lounged against the fireplace, smirking. "Don't worry, sis. I'll let you keep a junior position. Maybe in customer service." If he only knew that the struggling startup they thought was worthless had developed AI algorithms worth billions. While they saw a small tech company losing money, I had created revolutionary patents that tech giants were secretly fighting to license. "The company isn't doing well," my father continued. "It's best to let Michael handle it before you run it completely into the ground." My phone buzzed, a message from my patent attorney. "Final patent registrations confirmed. All core technology secured in your personal trust." "You're right," I said quietly, watching their expressions shift from demanding to triumphant. "I'll sign it over." Finally seeing reason, my father nodded approvingly. "Michael will turn it into something worthwhile." I picked up the pen, thinking about the separate holding company I'd created months ago when I first noticed Michael snooping around my company's financials. Every valuable patent, every piece of core technology had been carefully transferred to my personal ownership. $1, I confirmed, signing the transfer document. "The company is Michael's for $1. "Easiest dollar I've ever made," Michael gloated, already planning how he'd redecorate my office. My phone lit up again. Another message, this time from my legal team. "Google licensing agreement ready for signature. $2 billion upfront payment confirmed." "I hope you'll at least try to learn something from your brother," my mother sighed. "He knows how to build real value." I thought about the vault in my private office where the real documentation lay, proof that I owned every patent, every line of code that made the company valuable. The worthless startup they were stealing was just an empty shell. "I'm sure I will," I replied, gathering my things as Michael already began calling his friends to brag about his new acquisition. "Don't forget to hand over all company materials," my father instructed. "Files, contracts, everything." "Of course," I said softly, thinking of the encrypted servers that held the real technology, accessible only through my personal authentication. "I'll have everything sent over tomorrow." As I walked to my car, a deliberately modest vehicle that concealed its custom engineering, I thought about the meeting scheduled for next week. Tech giants would be bidding for licenses to my patents, while Michael would be discovering that he'd bought nothing but an empty office and some furniture. After all, some lessons about value come with a very expensive tuition. 1 week after signing over my failing company, I sat in my real office, a sleek penthouse suite in a different part of the city, watching multiple screens as Michael discovered exactly what he'd bought for his dollar. "Ms. Harrison," my assistant interrupted, "your brother has called 17 times in the last hour." Of course he had. The morning's tech news had just announced, revolutionary AI patents to transform industry. Google signs $2 billion licensing deal with unknown developer. My phone buzzed again, this time a message from my father. "What the hell is going on? The company's servers are empty." I smiled, opening my laptop to watch the live feed from my old office. Michael was frantically searching through files, finding nothing but basic corporate documents and employee handbooks. "Send the prepared statement to Michael," I instructed my legal team. "Let's make sure he understands exactly what he bought." Minutes later, I could see him on the security feed, face turning red as he read the document. "Congratulations on your purchase of Harrison Tech Solutions corporate shell. Please note that all intellectual property, patents, and core technology remain the personal property of Olivia Harrison, as registered with the U.S. Patent Office prior to transfer." My father's name flashed on my phone again. I let it go to voicemail, instead focusing on the incoming bids from other tech companies wanting to license my AI algorithms. "Your mother is trying to reach you through the corporate office," my assistant noted. "Tell her the patent holder is in meetings with Silicon Valley executives," I replied, watching Microsoft's offer climb past $3 billion. Suddenly, my office door burst open. Michael had somehow found my new location. "You can't do this," he shouted, his designer suit wrinkled from his frantic morning. "Those patents belong to the company." "Actually," I said calmly, pressing a button that brought up the patent registrations on my office walls, "they belong to me personally. Always have. The company you bought for $1? It was just an empty vessel. But the technology, the AI systems, are all registered in my name," I finished for him. "Maybe you should have done better due diligence before forcing a hostile takeover. Isn't that what father always taught you about real business?" My phone lit up with another notification. Apple enters bidding war $4 billion offering price. "We'll sue," Michael threatened, though his voice shook. "Father's lawyers are welcome to review all the paperwork," I cut him off. "Everything was legally transferred months ago. Did you really think I wouldn't protect my life's work when I saw you snooping through company files?" I turned my laptop to show him the live ticker of licensing bids. "While you were bragging about buying my failing company for $1, I was closing deals worth billions. The office you're so proudly redecorating? It's worth less than my morning coffee." The realization of what he'd actually bought finally hit him, and he collapsed into one of my visitor chairs. "How?" he whispered. "You were struggling, losing money." "No," I corrected him. "I was investing money. Every loss you saw was actually funding the patent development. But you were too busy counting your future profits to understand the difference. After all, some business lessons come with $1 billion price tag." The aftermath of Michael's discovery sent shockwaves through both the tech industry and the Harrison family. Headlines screamed, "AI genius behind billion-dollar patents revealed," and "Family business takeover backfires. Empty company sold for $1, patents worth billions." My phone was flooded with messages from family members who suddenly discovered their deep interest in technology. "Father, we need to discuss this as a family." "Mother, darling, we only wanted what was best." "Michael, please, we can work something out." I archived them all, focusing instead on the growing bidding war for my patents. By the end of the week, licensing deals had topped $10 billion, making me one of the wealthiest tech developers in the country. 1 month later, I sat in my expanded offices, now occupying 3 floors of a prime downtown building, reviewing the latest licensing proposals. Michael's dollar company had already filed for bankruptcy, unable to function without the technology he thought he'd acquired. "Your parents are in the lobby," my assistant announced. "Your father's tried to schedule meetings through every major tech company we work with." I watched on the security feed as they stood awkwardly in the reception area, my mother clutching her designer handbag, my father attempting to maintain his executive posture. "Tell them the patent holder is unavailable," I replied, signing another billion-dollar licensing deal. The family dynamic had shifted dramatically. Michael had been forced to sell his luxury condo after his takeover plans collapsed. My parents' social circle buzzed with gossip about how they'd pushed away a tech genius worth billions. "The Wall Street Journal is requesting an interview," my assistant mentioned. "They want to know how you protected your patents while appearing to run a failing company." I thought about all the family dinners where they'd criticized my business strategy, mocked my losses, and pushed me to let Michael take over. "Schedule it," I decided. "It's time to share some lessons about due diligence and intellectual property." 3 months after the dollar sale, I received an invitation to a family meeting at my parents' house, the same living room where they'd forced me to sign over my company. "They want to discuss reconciliation," my assistant reported. I looked out over the city skyline at the tech campuses now running on my AI systems. "Tell them I'm busy revolutionizing the industry they thought was worthless." The next week, Michael tried one last desperate move, sending a formal business proposal through his remaining connections. "Your brother suggests a family partnership," my assistant said, holding the document with barely concealed amusement. "Send him $1, I replied. "According to him, that's a fair price for a tech company." Over the next year, my patents transformed the tech landscape. The algorithms they thought were worthless became industry standard, generating billions in licensing fees. Michael's dollar company became a cautionary tale in business schools about the importance of intellectual property due diligence. My parents' attempts at reconciliation grew increasingly desperate as their social status crumbled. The daughter they tried to push aside had become the family's defining success story, while their chosen son struggled to find entry-level work after his failed takeover became public knowledge. I kept the original transfer document framed in my office, the paper that signed away a failing company for $1. Next to it, I displayed the first billion-dollar licensing check, a daily reminder that true value isn't always visible to those blinded by their own arrogance. Sometimes I drive past my old office, watching Michael's name being removed from the building he'd so proudly claimed. The empty company they'd forced me to sell had become a hollow monument to their greed, while the patents they'd overlooked transformed me into a tech industry legend. After all, some companies are worth $1, but the right patents are worth billions. And some family lessons about value come with a very expensive tuition indeed. The Harrison name might still appear on Michael's worthless company documents, but the real power, the patents, the technology, the billions, belonged to the daughter they tried to push aside. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's success so complete that it bankrupts those who tried to steal it.